Hey everybody, this is Tracy here for another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and I am here to recap Greenleaf Season 2, the mid-season finale, or Episode 8, and it was titled, And the Sparks Fly Upwards, and the producer, I don't know if he's the writer or the producer of the show, but basically he said that last week's title and this week's title was taken from a verse in the book of Job, and that's how they came up with these. So good Lord have mercy, I wasn't ready for the ending that we got on this show tonight. Woo, okay, we're going to save it to the end though, but let's get started. So the show opens with Grace flying down the road and she crashes into a tree as she tries to avoid hitting a deer that ran out into the road. And so miraculously, she escapes with minor injuries, bumps and bruises, and decides to call Darius Nash to come and help her out. So the two arrive at the Greenleaf home after having the vehicle towed and filing the police report. And so Lady May makes sure that Darius knows that he is not welcome at their home, and so he can feel the coldness of the reception, and he kisses Grace on the cheek and tells her that he'll call her later, and then he lets the Greenleafs know that they have a nice house. So Bishop Greenleaf, he warns Grace about, her actions and tells her that the deer was actually God intervening on her behalf because she was on her way to do something stupid. So Sophia's trying to be sympathetic to Grace, but when Grace, acts unconcerned, Sophia goes off and tells her mom that she needs her to get over her obsession with Uncle Mike and to just let it go, and that even if Mike gets his just reward, how is that going to fix things with her? Like, is she going to be happy or satisfied, or will she still have this anger within her? So Grace says that we all have our crosses to bear, and Sophia lets her know that she is becoming her cross to bear. She's sick of it and she's over it. So while all this is going on, Charity is up in her suite and she's pining over baby Nathan, and then she gets a phone call from Jabari, and Jabari wants to know if she can fly out in the morning or the next day to come to Nashville because he has a group coming in from Los Angeles, and he thinks that Charity and the group would be a good fit and that they can make some music together, and that the group is going to be there until Tuesday night or either Wednesday morning. So Charity, asks him, can she have until in the morning to make a decision, because she has to make arrangements for her baby. And I just think it's really crazy that this Jabari guy knows that she has a infant and thinks that it's okay for her to just be up and running to Nashville and carrying on with him. But, people are selfish like that. We go over to Jacob and Carissa, and he has decided to tell Carissa about the poker game and that Skanks has lost all the church's money. So she mentions the $100 that she found on the floor, but I'm not sure if Jacob told her that they had that poker game in her house, because I think she would have been a little more upset than she was. So Jacob says that he will figure something out, and Carissa says that it better not include crawling back to the Greenleaf mansion and that sneering mama of his. I was like, damn, she just don't want no parts of Lady May anymore. So Uncle Mike and Lorraine are getting ready for church, and Mike's phone rings and he says that it is Sophia. So Lorraine begins to question him about, why Sophia keeps calling all the time. And so the two get into a discussion, about his past, and he's telling her, you knew what was going on with me when you agreed to start dating me. And so then, they have a little back and forth, and then Mike tells Lorraine that he loves her, and everything appears to be all right. So when they arrive at church, Mike sends Lorraine inside while he calls Michaela, to tell her that she needs to stop calling him. And so Michaela says that she needs a place to stay because her mom, is back in one of her bipolar moods, and that she had actually hit her, and so she left the apartment, and now she doesn't have anywhere to go. And then Mike lets her know that he's sorry, but he can't help her right now, and then he hangs up on her. So we move over to Calvary, and Charity is leading another song. And you guys know they got that big old stage as the pulpit. So Charity just all over the stage, got on this dress that's halfway up her thigh, and it's like a body fitting dress. I'm just like, who does that? Like, where are the ushers with the vanity cloth for Miss Charity to wrap around her waist and cover up her legs? And better yet, why doesn't she have on a choir robe if she gonna be prancing around the stage like that? So then the camera zooms out on the audience, and Kevin's, he's sitting in his seat in the front row, and he has baby Nathan, and then he's turning around making goo-goo eyes at Aaron, who's like 2 or 3 rows behind him. And I told y'all that Aaron and Kevin was going to end up together. I just felt it for the first time Aaron came on this show. Then the scene moves over to Triumph, and Jacob, walks in on Skanks, and Skanks is, pumping himself up before he goes out to give his sermon. And he has on some headphones, and he's listening to like an upbeat gospel song, and he's dancing all around. And I'm just like, he is such a clown. So Jacob, asks about the money, and Skanks tells him to look and learn, because he was going to show him how to handle things. So then Skanks is out, and he's preaching, and then from his message, he's telling people about guilt and sin and all this stuff and needing to repent. So then he goes into the offering, and so he does what preachers do oh so well. They start throwing the guilt on you, and then telling you about the church needs, and how you need to sow into the church, and just all this whole plea about give, dig deep down in your pockets, in your pocketbooks, and give the church some money, and that you will reap a harvest. And in his case, he told them that they will reap a beanstalk that's going to take them up higher. And so Jacob and Carissa, they're sitting up on the stage, and I don't understand this whole thing with the wives sitting up, and the wives and the kids sitting up on the stage when they're not ministers. But anyway, Jacob and Carissa are up there, and they're looking like they are like so repulsed by Skanks and this offering call. And then Tasha, she's so supportive and love her man, and she jumps up and starts clapping for him. And then I was trying to figure out, she had on this jacket that, the denim jackets that people wear, where it was made like the denim jacket, but it was actually gold and like shiny, like she was a solid gold dancer, something. I was just like, Oprah just getting ridiculous right now with this show, and she knows she's wrong. She knows she is so wrong for what she's doing to the church right now. So after church, Zora gets permission to go sit in on Isaiah's recording session. After she leaves, Carissa goes in on Skanks, with talking to Jacob about, she just felt so ungodly sitting up there listening to his message. And she says that they need to find another church, because where they're at now is a spiritual danger zone, and she doesn't want to be there anymore. So while she's ranting, Jacob says that he has an idea that he thinks will fix everything. So at Isaiah's session, Zora sees a side of him that wasn't very Christian-like. He was in the recording studio, and when he finished the song, he asked them, it was a group of people there like sitting outside, and he was in the recording studio, and so that he asked how did he do. So Zora, being the good girlfriend, told him that he sounded great, but then there was one part where he was a little flat. And you could just feel all the air get sucked out of the room, and the group of people that was sitting behind her was like, oh Lord, did she really have the nerve to go there? So Isaiah was looking at her, and then the guy, who I'm assuming was like the producer or something, he kind of like tried to smooth it over and asked him, did he want to, give another run and incorporate Zora's idea? So that he said, yeah, but wait a minute. So he came out that booth and got Miss Zora and took her out in the hallway, but he left the door open. And then there was this one girl that got up and went and sat in this chair and turned the chair so she could be facing out to watch Miss Zora get her butt tore up. So basically Isaiah told her that she don't talk to him like that and disrespect him in front of his friends. And so Zora said, well, you asked my opinion. And he says, yes, but when I ask your opinion, you either tell me I did great or you keep your mouth shut. And do you understand me? Like, she was a child, and Zora was like, yeah, but as soon as Mr. Isaiah went back in that booth, Zora called Sophia and asked Sophia to come get her, because she Zora just don't strike me as the type that's gonna be letting somebody tell her what to do for too long. And I think she was infatuated with Mr. Isaiah, but the infatuation is over. So back at Triumph, Jacob meets with Skanks to lay out his plan, and so he wants to repay the debt to the church, to keep Skanks out of trouble, because he says when black people find out you messing with their money, it ain't gonna be pretty. So he wants to do this in exchange for full control and ownership of Triumph 2. So Skanks says that, he's appalled and hurt that Jacob would treat him this way after all that he's done for Jacob. And then he asks Jacob, where is he going to get the money from? So Jacob says that it was money that was given to him and Carissa as a wedding present, and that they're willing, to help out the church, but they need to get something out the deal. So then we move back over to Calvary, and the bishop is up preaching. And so Lady Mae is in awe of her man, just like Tasha was in awe of Skanks when he was up preaching. So the bishop is basically, talking about redemption and accountability. And so the camera goes over to Grace, and she's trying her best to feel the spirit, but you can just tell that she's so conflicted and just so bound up with her with her hatred and need for revenge on Uncle Mac that she could barely breathe. And so she tries to muster up an amen, but it was so weak that I'm like, I don't know what it's gonna take for Grace to get over what she's going through. But like they say, when what's that saying, drinking poison, waiting on the other person, that revenge, or what's the thing? Revenge is like drinking poison and waiting on the other person to die, I think is what the saying is. And that's exactly what Miss Grace is going through. So after the service, Sophia and Roberta come into her office, and they have this baby goat, from something they did with the little saints that they over there teaching. So she notes that Grace seems to be in a better mood. And so Sophia says that she has to take the goat back and take Roberta home, and that she'll meet Grace and Darius at the restaurant where they had plans to have dinner together. So Kevin is still looking for apartments, and he's in his office with little baby Nathan when Charity walks in. And so Charity, she comes in looking all sweet and innocent, and then tells Kevin that she needs to ask him a question. And so he's like, what? And she says, can I go to Nashville? And I'm sitting there like, if y'all get a divorce, why you gotta ask this man for permission? You need to come in there and say, I'm going to Nashville and I need you to watch your child. But, she's trying to be all sweet and conniving. And so, Kevin tells her, that's fine, do whatever you want to. And so she says that he can stay at the house, if he wants to. And so he says that he's fine with that, as long as Lady Mae is okay with it. And I'm sitting there saying, it was just something about the way Kevin said that makes me think Kevin is about to get him some revenge on Charity and Lady Mae for the way that they have treated him. So that night, Kevin puts the baby to sleep, and then he goes to hang out with Aaron. And so Aaron has some beer for the two of them, and they get to drinking the beer and getting closer with each other. And so Aaron gives Kevin a tip on how to get an apartment, telling him to take an ad out on Craigslist, and how the older rich people, they'll have like these apartments and mother-in-law suites and stuff, and they won't advertise them because they don't want to get caught up in discrimination lawsuits. But if you put an ad in Craigslist or something saying that you're looking for an apartment, that they'll reach out to you to check you out and see if they want to offer their place to you. So Kevin thanks him for the information and for being so nice to him as he go through this whole thing, this whole divorce and everything with Charity. And then Aaron leans in and makes his move on Mr. Kevin, and Kevin seemed to be very anxious to give this whole little gay thing a try. So if you guys remember, back in my review when Aaron first came on the scene, I said Aaron was going to be gay and he was going to turn Kevin out up in Lady Mae's house. Now, this is what I observed. When Kevin put that baby to bed, he had that intercom, one of those little intercom things, the little walkie-talkie things, and he took that with him. And if you guys recall back in one of the earlier episodes when Lady Mae, when the baby was sick, and Lady Mae was going to get in the bed, and her and Bishop was about to get busy, and then all of a sudden that baby started crying, and I'm thinking Lady Mae had one of them intercoms in her room, because how else did she hear that baby crying from where Charity's suite is to where her suite is. So I'm thinking while Kevin and Aaron end up bumping and grinding, somehow he gonna do something to that intercom, or either that baby gonna start crying and he ain't gonna hear the baby, but Lady Mae gonna walk in and catch them doing whatever they're doing. That's just my, the writer in me, that's what I think was going to happen. So Uncle Mike and Lorraine return from church. So he gets a call from the deputy mayor telling him that he thought things over and that he's not going to give Uncle Mike a job, and that he wants Uncle Mike to lose his number. So instead of just being nice about it and saying, God, I asked around, nobody's biting, he got all nasty with Uncle Mike and was calling them names and ugly and all this stuff here, and just being downright nasty to the man. And that didn't set too well with Uncle Mike, because when he hung up that phone, it was like he was having like a metamorphosis or something, like he was turning into the Incredible Hulk. And so Lorraine messed around and asked him who was that on that telephone, and that was the wrong move. So like I say, it was like he was having an out-of-body experience or something, because he told Lorraine that she was the most bottom shelf piece of old ass he had ever laid eyes on, and told her to get out. And so Lorraine, starts crying and apologizing and begging him to let her stay. But he said, no, get your ass up out of here. Now, I've been trying to figure out if Lorraine lives with Uncle Mac, because remember when we first saw her, she was dropping him off after a date, and she was in her car and she was leaving. But in the last 2 episodes, it's like she lives there, because remember when he told her he was going to take her to Pauline's, she went in the room to change her clothes, and then she was there that day when she was getting ready to go to work. So I'm thinking, okay, so does she live there, or is she just there all the time? But more importantly, do she have a key to the apartment? And the reason I'm asking that is because after he kicked her out, he called Michaela and told Michaela that he had worked things out for her. And so Michaela comes over, and being a teenager, she's flipping the channels looking for something to watch on television. So Uncle Mike gets up and fixed them a drink, and I'm talking about like an alcoholic drink, and then he suggests that they watch Imitation of Life. So Michaela, I don't know if she passed out or just fell asleep, but then, Uncle Mike just does the unthinkable. Now, it's one thing when they're talking about he was molesting kids, but to actually see him touching this girl and rubbing on her and then trying to get on top of her, and I'm just like, so repulsed. But the whole while I'm thinking, it's like, oh my God, is Lorraine gonna walk in and catch him? Because I still don't understand, does she live there or not? So Michaela wakes up, and Uncle Mike is on top of her, and so she freaks out, and starts fighting him, and so now he's getting really aggressive with her, like he's gonna rape her. But Michaela fought him off and got his big butt off of her and grabbed her stuff and ran out that apartment. And I was like, thank you, Jesus. So then we go back to Grace and Darius at the restaurant, but Sophia hasn't arrived yet. And so Darius suggests that she call Sophia, but Grace says that she doesn't want to be the nagging mother. So Sophia finally shows up to get Zora, who is upset and ungrateful because it took Sophia so long to get there. So Sophia tries to explain that her phone died and she got lost, but Zora, she doesn't want to hear it. She's angry and upset and just wants to go home. Grace is still upset that she hasn't heard from Sophia when Mike calls. So she gets up from the table and walks away, and he thinks that Grace is the one that called the deputy mayor and told the deputy mayor not to give him a job. So he's going on a rant about that. But then for some reason, Grace seems to think that he has Sophia. Now, I don't know if the writers, I don't know if it was bad writing or what, but I just don't know how Grace made the connection to Sophia not showing up at the restaurant to Mike having kidnapped her or something, because he was clearly saying that she was the one that had gotten to the Leonard guy, and I don't know. But anyway, Grace runs out of the restaurant and goes to Mike's apartment. And so when he opens the door, she like bursts into the apartment. And so the two of them are arguing, and he's telling her to get out, and she's going to regret ever messing with him. And it was obviously two different conversations going on, because he's angry and upset about the job. She's yelling about Sophia. Where's Sophia? Where's Sophia? You better not have hurt her. Then she starts going down the list of all the girls that he's allegedly molested, who've come forward, or she found information on that suggests that he had molested them. So then he grabs Grace like he's gonna rape Grace, and so they're still arguing, and then the two get to fighting. And I'm thinking, Grace done been in that car accident and came out unscathed. And then he like throwing her in that apartment. He threw her butt into that wall and bust a dang on hole in the wall. Then the two of them fell on the glass table, and the glass table broke. So then he went from trying to rape her to trying to strangle her behind. So he's like choking the crap out of her, and she reaches over, and there were like broken table legs on the floor, but somehow she skipped over the table legs and picked up, I think it was like a broken liquor bottle or something, but she picks it up and she stabs him in the neck, and then he falls off of her. And so she's still ranting about where's Sophia, where's Sophia. And I'm thinking, like, at this point, girl, Sophia is not there. So he's laying on the floor bleeding to death. And he's telling her to call for help, call for help. And she's like, well, I'm not calling for help. I need you to tell me where my daughter is. And he's like, what is you talking about? As he's bleeding to death. And I mean, just blood coming out everywhere. So I have no idea what possessed Grace to, go to the man's apartment. But this ending was not what I expected, and which means that when they come back from the break, which I think it's going to probably be like September to wrap this season up, we still going to be dealing with Uncle Mike and Grace, and I think everybody is over this whole storyline. So what do you guys think? Is Uncle Mike going to die? Will Grace face murder charges, or will Lorraine return and get him medical help and he ends up going to jail, over him trying to rape Michaela? And will Grace get arrested for attempted murder, but of course eventually get off? Let me know what you guys think. Oh, and one more thing. Did Danny McCready ever die? Because I remember the episode where they said he was going to die that day, but I don't recall them ever coming back saying that he actually died or that there was a funeral or anything. So anyway, guys, leave your comments below, rate the video, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.